My name's Martin Close, so welcome to my first live stream, and we'll get started. So, filling in on what we'll be doing here, this is going to be a how to paint a sky, a dome of a sky. Now, if you think of yourself as standing inside a marble, a glass marble, you'll see the dome of the sky coming across. Right at the top of the dome is the deepest blue. As you go down, it becomes lighter. There's a slight shift of hue, and generally speaking, a lot of mist and atmospheric stuff gets in the way. So here, this is an example of a blue sky, and this is what I always see. This is what my students tend to always do. They have three different colors. The darkest color at the top, the lightest colour at the bottom, and a kind of mid colour. And they then try to create a variegated wash over the canvas to give the painting some depth. Let's try that out to see if it works, because it is actually the wrong way to do something. You should never do it this way. It's hard. You could spend a lot of time doing this, and there's a much, much easier way of doing it, which is this one over here. Let's come to both. Let's come to this first. So what I'm going to do now, you can see these edges where I haven't blended. The paint is wet, and I'm just going to initially just diffuse the edge. And I'm going to be doing this with little controlled kisses. The sort of thing you get on the Christmas card, where you X's, in other words, and we just want to diffuse the line. Let's get a bit of tissue, and let's do the same thing on the darker side, on the darker edge. And you can see it's reasonably effective. You could say, well, it kind of gives you a softened blend, but you can see these blocks of colour, and which means that you now really need to work at it and spend a lot of time trying to diffuse it in a controlled state. And trust me, that's not easy. And it's a much, much easier way of doing something. And this is all technique. This is the technique of how to paint a sky. So let's switch to a different brush, and let's try our hand at this one. And you'll see instantly this is an awful lot easier to do. Here we go. I'm going to go from the bottom up. A lot of people will go from the top down, but this is a stronger colour. Now, I'm not saying don't do this. I'm saying you might want to do it. It depends on how you feel about your painting. Are you happy to let the darker blues blend into your lighter blues? This is your choice. Or are you happier for the lighter colour to blend into the dark? Bear in mind, the darker colours are stronger, so they will be less affected by the light colours going into them. Show you what I mean. Let's do this. So same as before, we just want to diffuse, not confuse, to diffuse the edge. You can tell this is live telly, can't you? So now that is diffused, we've gone to the next one. Now, because these are in very, very small steps, there's not a big colour shift. It's a lot easier to control. Now this works, yes, for the blue dome of a sky, but you know, it also works for fabric painting. If you're painting curtains or a cloth or clothes, a dress, any kind of fabric, this will work. Let's do the other one coming up. There's another line gone. And you can see that is already beginning to blend a lot easier than this one did. Let me show you this technique up close. We literally turn the brush like this. So my hand is doing this. And the brush tip, can you see that is moving? So I'm literally tiny, tiny movements. I'm not doing big movements like this. Very small, considered steps. I'm going to wipe the brush. I've got a lot of paint on here now. Here's where I'm going to kind of be cautious of my words. Many occasions through the decades of teaching that I've done, I've said to students, put more paint on. And then I've gone, maybe it shouldn't run down the canvas. And then, you're left with the question, well, how much paint do you have to put onto a canvas? It's a bit like we talk in the class of Goldilocks, the three bears. Oh, too much paint, too little paint. Just the right amount of paint. Now, you're only going to know what the right amount of paint is by doing it wrong. It's really important that when you learn to paint, you get things wrong. Don't worry about making mistakes. The more mistakes you make, the more you learn. Give yourself some time. It's like if you're learning a craft, well, give yourself 6 months or a year or 2 years, depending on it's entirely up to you. There's no race, but relax. Don't get angry. Don't paint angry. No one's expecting you to get it right, least of all me, and that's why I'm doing these recordings, so you can watch them over and over again until you do get it right. Let's come back into the next line. I think it's really important that I kind of label that, because one of the biggest things I see is fear. Fear of getting it wrong. Well, I'm really happy when you get it wrong. If I'm an art tutor, it makes me feel I've got kind of a secure job. So don't worry about how I feel. And just accept the fact that you're not going to get it right first time. Take yourself back to when you were learning how to drive a car. Did that come easy? Oh, for some it does, but for others, it doesn't. It takes practice. I think another analogy of this is, let's just imagine for a minute that you're going to be a pilot of a DC-10 or a commercial airliner. How reassuring will it be for your passengers to think, oh, this is your first go in the cockpit? No. So give yourself a bit of time and practice these techniques. Oh, get my face out of the way. Now you can see instantly it's taking a little bit longer to do, but look at the result. It's already much better, and we've not even finished the blending process. Now, for a lot of you who want a more painterly effect, this is probably going to be nearly done. But for those of you who want a more of a refined painting, is that really the right terminology? I don't think it is. Smoother. If you want a smoother transition, then there's a few other brushes which will really help. This is one. It's a Rosemary & Co., as indeed all of my brushes are. There's no special relationship between me and Rosemary. I've been using her brushes for literally decades, and some of my brushes here are 15, 20 years old. They're still as good as new. If you look after them, they look after you. But this is a Rosemary & Co. 305 series, and it's a number 8. Now again, what I'm going to do is to come back to the first one, and I'm just going to, the reason I'm using, by the way, this brush is that it's a soft blender. It's like an imitation sable. So it's a synthetic brush. No squirrel has been harmed in the fabrication of it. And I kind of like that. I prefer squirrels to be in bushes rather than brushes. So here we go. Let's move this up. And you can see I'm struggling. I really am. I'm struggling to get that even blend. Let's get a bit of tissue on the brush to see if we can smooth that out more. Because I'm going to go into the dark area, but I can still see a line here. And let's just see how far I can take this. But I know I'm not going to get a good result from this. I can still see this in this line here, and it's going to take a long time to get rid of that. But the thing here, the most important thing to demonstrate to you is the amount of control I've got. I don't have any. I have no control over this. I'm literally in the hands of the gods. Let's see if I can blend this area out a little bit. Now, I painted these just before coming on air. I didn't want to, I don't know, sort of bore you to tears and just painting a couple of stripes. Because the main lesson here is, or the theme is really how to create a sky, how to blend it. Now, I can still see a line across here. I can still see a line across here. Now, already this one looks better. I've done nothing to it yet. But you see that it already looks more, it's smoother. The transition is smoother. So let's see how we go. Again, from the lighter area coming up. Now I'm just going across, a bit like as an inkjet printer, I suppose. I'm not jumping up here because it's going to put dark on my brush. I'm going from light into dark in this particular example. Now again, just a side step. The terms light into dark, I've seen this so many times with other tutors on various sites. You know, always paint dark into light, always paint light into dark. It depends what you're painting. If you're going to be painting a still life and it has a lot of dark around it, you're going to need to put the background in first so that you get truer colour on your subject. But that's not the case for everything you do. There are cases where you want to put the lighter areas in first and then move into your darks, or at least establish a dark patch and a light patch and then work your way towards each other. So it's not written in stone. If you've ever heard these things, like you should always go from dark into light. Well, it depends on what you're painting, the subject, where you are. Are you outside or are you inside? Yeah. Whereabouts are you in the world? Are you in the studio where it's more controlled? Anyway, coming back. Can you see now how this is really beginning to look like a smooth transition between the two colours? There's no stress involved here, whereas here I could still see this line, and this line, I'm going to be there, probably a month of Sundays trying to rectify that. It's the difference between having something easy or making it hard for yourself. Just that. This makes it really easy. This is really hard. So if you're a new student to oil painting, which is, by the way, the easiest medium in the entire world to paint with, if you're really new and you're struggling, because we all do, we all struggle, it's conceptual. It's a concept of how to work in oils. And don't make it harder for yourself. Focus on doing something that makes it easier for yourself, like this. Now, can you see I'm just slowly going up? I'm trying my hardest not to come back down, because that's going to put a darker blue into the lighter blue areas, which is probably not what we really want to do. I hope you're enjoying this, even on record, as much as I am doing it live. I will see if I can probably do another couple of test streams to see if we can iron out these little issues. Here we go. Almost there. So this, we could call it a first pass. In other words, we've just run all the way through and we've just taken it up to there. Let's see how that looks. Now, it's still quite painterly. So how can we make it even smoother? Now, this brush is, again, it's a soft synthetic. But watch now what happens. I'm just going to work on this because I've given up with this. This is never going to be better than it already is. This is it. But here we could make this look really nice. So I'm just going to, again, little kisses like this. But it's a very, I'm just using the tips. Can you see that? I'm just using the tips of the brush, nothing more. Very light. Again, little kisses, slightly at an angle this way, and then reversing the angle going the other way. Coming up again, look at that. Look at the transition, that's now beginning you. It's as if there's no lines there. So I'm really pleased the way this is coming. And again, this we could call this second pass. We could even do a third. But again, this is so much easier to do than the one on the left. Here we go. All the way up to the top. Now look at that. Now that, again, I could go, I can still see a couple of lines which probably need a bit of work on them. Nothing's easy, as I say, and easier. So again, now I've got dark blue. Can you see this? I've got a bit of dark blue on the brush. So do I go down? Why not? Let's go down. And here, because there's less paint, because then when you blend something, you're taking a little bit of paint off, but I'm now forcing the issue. I can see where a couple of these lines exist. It's where the transition between one colour and another, I've maybe not worked quite as hard as I should have done and could have done better in mixing the colour. How hard am I on myself? And we're just bringing that down, fluffing it up a bit more. Here we go. I think that's done. So can you see the difference between this and that? And we've got a few minutes, so let's do this. Let's see if we can improve this with this technique. We are going to improve a little bit. It all depends on how much, but I think it's going to take a lot longer to do this than it took to do that. And I'm an uphill struggle. I'm already at a point where it's not as easy as it should be. I can still see the three zones, can you? I mean, there's one, and there's one. So it's going to take ages. We've got a bit of a gremlin on here as well. Here we go. That's still there. Okay. Probably a bit of fluff or something. So that's how easy it is to do a variegated sky. If you do it in little stages, little steps, it's really easy. Another way of looking at this, possibly, which I sometimes use when I'm in class, is that we live in a bungalow, let's say. Oh, I'm going to put another story on. We're going to take the roof off and make bedrooms up there. Okay, so now we've got a second story. We need stairs. So do you just put 3 stairs in? The first step is going to be what? About up to above my waist. It's a bit of a challenge. If we made smaller steps, it's easier to get upstairs. Here, this is an example of smaller steps. And it really does make things a lot easier when it comes to painting a blue sky. Please do subscribe to the community. It's totally free, that platform, and it's a stepping stone to higher things. So there'll be little videos on there and clips of classes. And on the paid community, which is, like I said, due to launch hopefully on the 9th of December, there'll be a whole heap of courses which I'm currently editing and producing to go on there. And then we're designing a new course every month to go onto the paid community. which is only $12 a month. And all of the weekly streams, every single one of them will be on there as well. So thank you ever so much for attending and listening, and I'll hopefully see you in the next stream. All the best. Bye for now.